Previously on the Ron Van Dam Show.
Ooh, I found Jesus. This is a special day.
And as fascinating as that is, I'm like an apartment building where you have to buzz to come upstairs on the intercom.
And now, today's episode.
On the air everywhere, this is New England Broadcasting.
Hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. It's the Ron Van Dam Show.
Hold on tight, things can get a bit weird, if you like that sort of thing.
Welcome to the program. It's the Ron Van Dam Show. Let me introduce some of the people that help us out on this program every single time we do it. There's our announcer and comedy writer, John Shanahan. Give it up. And, of course, Nicole Reed, who is the British voice that you hear at the beginning of the program. She also books and arranges most of our national interviews. Thank you, Nicole. And the lovely and talented Jason Shaw. You're hearing his music in the background, composing the music that's heard on this program. Thank you, Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, and then there's me. You cannot bring your own food and drink. Please go to the concession stand and pick up one of our fine flavored beverages or finger sandwiches. But you are now not allowed to bring in your own food. You know better than that. All bags will be checked before you listen to the program. I'm talking about the ones under your eyes. Yeah, I know. Did you look in the mirror today? Unbelievable, isn't it? How did that happen? I found a gray hair on my head yesterday. Yeah, it shocked me. It was a long gray hair coming out of my nose. I got hair coming out of places that hair never came out of before. And I don't understand why that started up. I have a hairdresser, and I pointed out the places that hair is now coming out of my body, and she said, no, I'm not touching that. Hey, thank you very much. Congratulations for being here. Takes guts, and you got them. Takes a huge, huge pair of balls to listen to this show, and fortunately, you've grown a pair. Jeff Bezos is reportedly the richest man in the world. He's the owner, creator of Amazon and different companies and things like that, and he's doing very well. He's getting divorced from his wife because he has a mistress whom he loves. And he loves his wife, too. His wife was there when Jeff was doing the Amazon company, and she was actually integral in being his partner, literally, in building that company. So in a divorce settlement, it was announced today that Jeff Bezos' divorced wife will be receiving $36 billion. That's with the B. $36 billion. She will be I believe, the third richest woman in the world. Wow. Gives me an idea. How about you? Time to get married to a rich person, perhaps? I think the timing is right. Now, in her case, she actually, when she was with him as his wife, she actually was like really a part of the company. Her ideas actually helped mold Jeff Bezos's fortune as well. So she's very much due that money. But even if she wasn't due that money, she'd be getting that money. That's the weird part, but it's true. I don't know what I would do with $36 billion. I think the first thing I would do was, I'd get a more expensive couch. I think I'd go to a regular furniture store and buy a couch if I had $36 billion. Wow. You could walk into a furniture store and say, hi, and they say, can I help you? Yes, I'm looking for some furniture. Well, we have a lovely couch. No, I'm going to buy your company is what I'm going to do. Oh, my God, you must be Mrs. Bezos. Yes, I am, Mrs. Bezos. $36 billion. Wow. I guess I wouldn't be scared to play the lottery because if I lost a dollar ticket, I guess it wouldn't matter at that point. $36 billion. Can you imagine how many shoes that is? Wow. I don't think Oprah even has that much money. I haven't heard from Oprah lately. What happened to her? She was like the queen of everything. She owned the world, media-wise, money-wise, everything. What happened to her? She's too young just to fade into the woodwork. The only thing I see her doing is she bought a piece of is it the Weight Watchers or something? I have no idea. All those things are the same to me. Nutrisystems, loser systems. I have no idea. But now she's like one of the spokespeople for one of those weight loss places. And that's it, Oprah? Seriously? After all this time and all your money and fortune, that's where you ended up? And you're not even a great example of that. Okay, Oprah lost a little weight. Next week, she'll be like 7,000 pounds. What are you doing? What kind? Is this a weight loss system for people who like to bounce their weight around? I don't understand. I don't get it. I speaking of weight loss, and I had no reason to do that. I'm in a precarious situation. This happens to me every year. Speaking about bouncing weight, I'm usually pretty good in the summer. I look pretty good. I look almost skinny. Not quite, but very close to it. My weight's very much under control. I feel good. I can bounce around. I can walk the whole bit. I can be seen in public. It's not so bad. And then the holidays come around. It starts with that damn Halloween holiday where I don't eat candy, but I have to buy candy to satisfy the little schmucks that come to my door. I don't let candy come into my house. Candy also is the name of my next door neighbor. Say, I don't allow candy in my house because I could, by mistake, eat a piece of it. It's very tempting, this candy stuff. But I'm forced to buy it on Halloween. I'm forced to do it. So the kids come to the door, I give them the bags of candy, and they leave, and then there's always some candy left over because I always overbuy. And then there's the candy, and I have a little bit of it, and that starts the ball rolling for my holiday fat fest. And then Thanksgiving comes. I'm very careful. I eat a very small amount of turkey, a very small amount of stuffing, the whole bit, and I'm very good. And then after the dinner, somebody says, hey, it's time for dessert. I bought 17 pies with me. Oh, don't do it. Oh, get out of my house. I've got pumpkin pie and apple pie and blueberry pie and rhubarb pie and all kinds of pie. And cakes and cookies and, oh, don't. Oh, don't do it. I can't say no to the pie, so I have a small, just have a small slice, please. Let me do it myself because I want just a small slice. I end up having like 15 small slices. And that goes on, and then the people leave my house, but the pie stays. I end up eating the whole rest of the pie over a very short period of time. And I feel horrible about myself. I've introduced sugar back into my system as a home for the free and the brave. And I think it's all over, but it's not. Because then comes, Christmas. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, onward Christian soldier. Christmas. Oh, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Because you eat another big meal with a lot of people. So, you got that thing going. And then, the pies and the cakes again. And the cookies. And the Christmas parties. You're invited to Christmas parties. And what's there? Tons of cheese. So when I eat the cakes and the cookies, I can't even go to the bathroom anymore. And then I can't fit through doors all of a sudden. And you figure, all right, it's all over. But then New Year's Eve comes. Got to go out. Got to have the drinks. Got to have more food. And you figure, okay, now it's all over. Then comes the dead of winter. I live in New England. It gets pretty dead of winter up here. There's nothing happening. There's nothing to do but eat food. And you can't exercise because you're stuck in a closet all winter, freezing your ass off and drinking hot toddies and sugars and more pies and more cakes and comfort food. Comfort food is fat food is what it is. There's no difference between comfort and fat. They're the same things. And then we come to now. And I need to lose weight. I need to lose 10 pounds. I'll do it over the next 3-4 months, but it's going to start the whole cycle all over again. It's a conundrum of death. It's a horrible thing. Oh, the curse of food. It's horrible, man. The only way out is to have the amount of money that Jeff Bezos' ex-wife has, $36 billion. Hey, Jeff Bezos's? That's a hard last name to make possessive. I can hardly say Bezos, much less Bezos's. Jeff Bezos's ex-wife. Oh my God, that's a lot to say. Wow. I want to be Oprah, not in that sense. Man, she's gotten away with it. She's Oprah, and she's got basically a husband, but not. She never married that Stedman guy. What's up with that? What kind of relationship is that? No one ever questions that. Of course, they would. If she was running for president, then they question the Stedman thing. They go, well, that's just too strange. She's not like anybody else. She's living with a guy for like 17,000 years, yet she won't marry him. What kind of commitment does this woman have? It's a kind of an odd relationship. I assume they have sex. I don't know. I can't check it out, and I don't care to. And just, just the image of Oprah and Stedman having sex is like, it's like watching your parents have sex. You cannot. It's unfathomable. It can't be. It can't be. But I thought, if I were Oprah and I had that kind of money, I would just sit in a chair all day and hire people to move my body for me. I'd just sit there and say, okay, Bob, you move my foot. Harry, you move my other foot, and that'll be my exercise. She doesn't even have to. She can just sit there and have people move her body parts. That's rich. That would be rich. I used to love to play tennis. John Shanahan, who's the writer on the show here, the comedy writer, we used to play tennis every once in a while. I think I've told this story before. Probably not. I can't remember a damn thing. We used to play tennis when we were younger. Yeah, it's hard to believe I was ever younger. I can't really picture that in my head. I know numbers-wise, I was younger at some point in my life. I just can't imagine that. And we'd be playing tennis, and I would get exhausted even back then. And it wasn't from playing tennis, it was from chasing the balls. I spent most of my life chasing balls. Don't take this wrong. But it's true, because I love to play tennis, but I had to always go chasing the balls. It's a penalty you pay. If you don't hit the ball back over the net when it's served to you, then your job becomes chasing balls. That's your penalty. Oh, you didn't hit the ball back? Go chase that ball. I've said this before. The one sport that I hate to play, but is the best for not chasing balls, is bowling. You don't have to chase a ball when you're bowling. You throw the damn thing down the alley, the aisle, whatever you call the damn thing, and it's like far away at that point. Pins come down, pins don't come down. It's not the point. No one ever says at that juncture, "Oh, Ron, you missed all the pins. Go get the ball and bring it back." You don't have to. It automatically comes back. Yeah, it comes down this little trolley rail, and it comes right back. As a matter of fact, if you don't move your hand fast enough, the ball will crush your fingers. That's how fast the ball comes back to you. It's the best lazy game ever. You stand there, throw the ball, stay where you are, the ball comes right back to you, you sit down and you drink some beer. What kind of sport is this? What kind of sport is this? It's a great sport because you don't have to chase the ball. I love it. I hate ball chasing. It's not the game, it's chasing the ball. It's picking up the ball and bringing it back. That's the exercise. There's no Olympic sport for that. What are you doing in the Olympics? I'm in the ball chasing championship. I came in silver last year, but this year I'm going for gold. I'm going to chase balls like you've never seen anybody chase balls before. Wow. You know, just using the term chasing balls sounds awkward. I know, but that's what I do. It's what I've done all my life. I go chase balls. It's like when you're playing baseball and you're, playing second base or shortstop or whatever the case may be. If that ball is coming towards you and you don't catch that ball, guess what? You're going to end up running after that ball and chasing the ball. In baseball, that's actually part of the play itself. It's awful. It's just an awful sport. Hey, do me a favor. Go chase that ball. Sure, I've been doing it all my life. What the hell? Chase that ball. Why don't you go chase that ball? You go chase that ball. I'm sick of chasing balls. Spent half my life chasing balls. Chase balls. I'm sick of chasing balls. You go chase balls.
You are listening to Ron Van Dam, the gentle, fast-acting laxative of the podcast world. Don't you feel better already?
No, I don't. My guest is coming up very shortly. Not that my guest is short. My guest is, I don't know how tall my guest is. Guest isn't here. I do this by telephone, so I really don't know how short. But anyway, shortly the guest will be joining us. We're going to be talking about something quite existential. I thought I'd get a little heady right now. I never understood this religion and science thing. Never got it. I'm aware of a friend of a friend's of a friend of a friend of a friend's of a friend is a science teacher. Teaches science. That's what a science teacher does. Well, Ron. Well, what an explanation. What's a science teacher to do? What do they do? Oh, they teach science. I did not know that. So you're telling me a science teacher teaches science? Yes. Wow. Did not know. She teaches science, and yet she's a devout religious person. She goes to church like 20 times a week or something, and she's very religious. She walks around with a Bible all the time, quotes little Bible parables that don't even make any sense at any given time. She says, "What would Jesus do?" in every sentence. It's really crazy. She's very, very religious, and yet she teaches science. And I couldn't figure out, like, how is that possible? How can you teach science and then at the same time think that everything was created by God, but nothing was? How does that work? So I sought out an expert. So that's what we're going to talk about and see what happens with that. I thought the two were in conflict. I don't know if they are or they're not, but we'll find out. Okay, all right, there you go. There's your introduction. I'm always in awe of people that find Jesus. I mean, can you take this conversation? Is this conversation bothering you? Come on, we can talk about anything, can't we? People who get incarcerated, who are convicted of some type of crime of some sort, usually heinous, perhaps not. Heinous is a real word. I have no idea what it means. I mean, I do. I just use it in a sense. But why do we need that word? Why do we need the word heinous? It's an odd word, isn't it? It's just no one uses it, but it exists. So they go to prison, and for some reason, most people that go to prison, all of a sudden they find Jesus. For some reason, Jesus is hanging out in prisons all across the country. I went to New York University Film and Television School, of which I am a graduate. Thank you very much. I am. And they taught me there was a television writing class that I actually took, and they said religion and politics. Politics, okay. Religion, don't ever make jokes about that. Don't because you're going to offend a lot of people if you say anything light or humorous or debilitating about religious beliefs. Stay away from that totally. They actually taught that. They said that's not good. That's not good. Stay away from religion. So I didn't. But they taught that in school. What a wonderful... I graduated from film and television school. My major class was going to a movie theater that was just down the street from the campus. And we watched movies, and then the lights would come up, and the professor would stand in front of the movie screen and say, "Let's discuss the film." And I said, "This is a class? What are you serious? I'm going to be graded on this? This is a class? This is a thing? This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Does anybody know about this? That you can actually go to college and major in film and television and just watch movies and talk about them? Does anybody know that this is possible?" Funny stuff, huh? All right, we're going to speak to our guest right after these words.
Are you aware that 1 in every 7 Americans is in desperate need of a dope slap?
Yes, I was.
Studies show that every 17 seconds in America, someone writes, says, or does something so incredibly stupid that they deserve to be slapped, and you can help. If someone you know commits an act of boneheaded stupidity, simply extend your hand with the palm facing to the side, draw your arm back, and deliver a sharp, solid blow straight across their forehead. It's called a dope slap. It only takes a moment to perform, but the lesson can last a lifetime. This has been a message from the American Dope Slap Association and Metro South Podcasting.
Author Michael Newton Keas joins us now. His book is Unbelievable 7 Myths About the History and Future of Science and Religion. I guess this is people don't usually talk about religion unless science is involved as an adversary. This has always been a fascinating topic for me, science and religion. It seems to be like the Hatfields and the McCoys sometimes. Do you get that feeling?
Sure, Ron. Thanks for having me on your show. Yeah, science and religion seem like they don't mix, at least to a lot of people. And that's after teaching science and its history for a quarter century. I started running the front, realizing that the stories that are usually told don't match the historical evidence, and so I thought I should write a book about it.
Interesting. How has that been received? Have people? Because religion is something that is so deeply rooted that you can't usually squeeze any kind of opinion other than what's set in stone. Do you find that to be a problem or a concern?
Well, Yeah, I mean, look, the scientists and people of faith, often the same people, sometimes different. People in general tend to get settled into their way of viewing the world and tend to interpret new data in light of old frameworks. So that's kind of a human trait in general. But and what I do is I show how in science there are certain stories that get told and retold. Like for example, that the universe is so huge that there's no way humans could have any significant plan in some divine story because we're so tiny, and only modern science showed that we were really, really small compared to the universe, and so therefore it debunked religion.
Right.
But it turns out that people in the ancient world actually knew the universe was really, really big. Both religious and non-religious people, ancient Hebrews and Greeks both thought the universe was really big, and they drew different conclusions from that. But they generally thought that was consistent with the possibility of a god or gods, and modern science really hasn't changed that. I mean, the numbers have gotten bigger, but the sense, for example, an ancient pagan astronomer by the name of Ptolemy said the Earth is like a point compared to the distant stars, and that's virtually dimensionless.
Right.
And the Hebrew Bible says pretty much the same thing, comparing the vastness of the universe to the greatness of God.
Okay. How does, as a scientist, I guess the underlying theory here is one set would believe that life was created by God. The other would be by a scientific interaction, a Big Bang theory. How does one accept both as being feasible?
Yeah, the Big Bang cosmology came into focus in the mid-20th century, and a lot of evidence shows that it's the best theory we have. I personally think it's true, and I think it's also consistent with the idea of God. In fact, the guy who named it Big Bang named it in ridicule of it. He was an atheist who didn't like the theory because it implicated a beginning, because when you go back in time, you get to a singularity point where space, time, and matter shrink up to nothing, and you have the origin of space, time, and matter.
Right.
And if you've got an origin event for space, time, and matter, then the cause of that seems to be something beyond space, time, and matter. Right. Remind you of anyone? Like God, right? Non-spatial, non-temporal. Yeah. So that one's actually a pretty easy way to see the complement. Have a complementary.
Very interesting. Now, your book is about myths that have just accepted that may not be the case, or probably aren't, and that's kind of fascinating as well.
Yeah, like the one about the size of the universe implicating no God. Well, a lot of religious people knew it was big. Or how about during the Middle Ages, because of the ignorance of the church, people thought the earth was flat. Well, turns out during the Middle Ages, Christianity was responsible for the origin of the university, which was the home for the teaching of science and for scientific research. And they had great reasons for believing the earth was round, not flat. And they taught that to hundreds of thousands of students throughout Europe. And they were Christians teaching this, mostly, So, so there are a few oddballs today that think the earth is flat, but, most people know it's round, and that includes both religious and non-religious people, because there's good reasons to believe it so, and Christians were behind that historically.
Is it important for us as human beings to tag everything and to explain everything? Is that what this is all about, that nothing can really remain a mystery? It is our nature to have everything explained. When we do that, do we also tag certain people, certain individuals, as being the ones who discovered this? It seems to me that in our history classes and our science classes, we're given names of people like Columbus. The earth is round. As you say, that he wasn't necessarily the one that invented that idea. Right.
In fact, the real debate at the time of Columbus, which was at the end of the Middle Ages, was not the shape of the Earth, but the size of the Earth. He thought it was small. He thought it was small enough that you could circumnavigate, to the west to get to the far east. He was wrong about the size, but fortunately he ran into another continent, so he didn't die.
No, that's, yeah.
But yeah. So that's one of those stories that get told and retold, and it makes it look like he was debating these ignorant Christian theologians who thought the earth was flat. That's just not true.
Okay. What about Galileo? He's another individual who is given a lot of credit for concepts like this.
Oh, yeah, he was a brilliant scientist. Mm-hmm. He had a bad habit of mocking his opponents, remind you of the president. And anyway, he had this really bad habit, and he didn't actually prove the earth moved. That was the debate at that time, in the 17th century. But he had a pretty good argument. But there were also really good arguments that the earth was at rest at that time, and it really wasn't settled until a generation later. And so he got in trouble with certain authorities in the Catholic Church, partly because of his own arrogance and his lack of tact. But the Church was right that he hadn't proved his point, and so they stuck with the view that seemed to be consistent with the Bible, that the earth doesn't move. But there were other theologians who were pro-Galileo and said, look, the Bible doesn't really teach whether the earth moves or it doesn't move. That's really not an issue that the Bible was intended to answer. And I think those theologians were actually right. And so some people today have other issues, about the Bible, whether it's consistent with science. I think just wait and see. Let science do its job, and let theologians do their job. And I think eventually the two do converge.
Just as a personal opinion from you, do you believe that there is indeed life on other planets or objects, and that we simply have not discovered it, and vice versa?
I have a chapter on that, and it kind of makes its appearance in other chapters historically. But in terms of contemporary stuff, which is in my 7th chapter, I think the probability of aliens existing out there is small, but it's possible. Now, the probability of contact with us, that's what I really focus on. I think that is exceedingly small, and I follow the latest information from, for example, a Harvard astronomer who's really hammered this out, and I think that likelihood is really, 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 really small. And then finally, the likelihood that the aliens that show up on Earth would be our savior because of superior technology and superior knowledge, and that they would be like gods, is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Richard Dawkins, here's a quote. There are very probably, and remember, Dawkins is Earth's leading atheist. He says, there are very probably alien civilizations that are superhuman to the point of being godlike in ways that exceed anything a theologian could possibly imagine, unquote. Now, that's Dawkins saying that, and here we have an atheist who imaginatively projects into the future. Well, if you've got billions of years to evolve, then eventually you've got technology that would seem like magic, and that totally eliminates any reasonable way to distinguish between some supernatural being posing as an alien and an actual alien.
Right.
And so there could be great deception set up by this atheistic scientist who no longer gives you the tools to distinguish between the natural and the supernatural anymore. That's a futuristic myth, and I show reasons why it's really unbelievable.
Interesting. Do you as a scientist and a theologian, I guess, do you believe that there are various layers of dimensions where existence coexists? Well, I think that an open-minded person should be, consider that there might be a dimension beyond the physical, namely a non-physical. I mean, our own existence as human beings. Most of the molecules in our body are replaced multiple times in our lifetime. So it seems like humans are more than just physical. Right.
Although we obviously have a body, and if we have a brain injury, it affects our cognitive abilities. So it goes both ways. But so I think there is good evidence for things like a soul and the possibility that God exists, like the Big Bang. I already mentioned that as pointing to a God. But it's interesting that atheists are more willing to believe in aliens as being our savior than a supernatural God.
Right.
So when it comes down to it, if there were an apparent appearance of some great being that boasting about its ability to solve our problems and to avoid nuclear holocaust, a lot of people might follow that being, even though it may not be actually God. It may be some enemy of God, for example, who poses as an alien being. And atheists would say, oh, it's just an alien, let's follow it.
Yeah. I mean, see, my estimation, which doesn't count because I didn't write a book, is that both religion and science, as I said at the beginning, are both the extreme cravings of reasons for existence, how we got here, because that is just so inexplicable that as humans we need to explain this, otherwise you kind of go nuts, because there is a physical end to it. So you need an explanation. So anything that seems something you can grab onto is, as humans, we grab onto that.
Well, Ron, you're right that there is a hunger in the human heart for meaning and significance, and there's a psychological inclination to want to accept these patterns that will emerge, from which an explanation will emerge.
Right.
Now, that psychological inclination doesn't mean, well, then anything goes, and there's no truth, and it's just all blah blah.
Uh-huh.
It just means be careful, be cautious. Don't just jump to a conclusion. Follow the evidence where it leads, and that's why I've written this book, is to try to warn people from unbelievable stories and to make them more critical thinkers.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Wow. This is a hell of a book you've written here. I'll tell you that right now. It's called Unbelievable: 7 Myths About the History and Future of Science and Religion. And it goes so much further than that as well. How long ago did you write this book, may I ask?
I taught science for a quarter century. I've been thinking about these things for a long time, but I finally got this book out in January.
Yeah.
And if you go to unbelievablemyths.com, and that myths is plural, it bounces you right to Amazon.
Beautiful. Usually when somebody writes something of this extent, they usually got something else in their brain planned for the near future. And is that the case?
I already have 2 research grants for my next book.
There you go.
And it's going to start with myths about Isaac Newton, which happens to be my middle name, Newton.
Right.
And I'm having great fun with it. It will go from Newton to Hawking, because as you know, Stephen Hawking just passed away, and he held the same chair at Cambridge that Newton did. So I've got beautiful bookends for my second book.
Fantastic. He's Michael Newton Keas, and it's Unbelievable: 7 Myths About the History and Future of Science and Religion. The website is unbelievablemyths.com, or you can Google his name or do anything you want, and all roads lead to the book. Hey, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and appreciate it.
Ron, it's been fun. Keep thinking, man. You're in the same boat as me.
Gotcha. Hey, take care.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
There you have it, my friends. Another episode down the tubes. Next time another weekday rolls around, I'll be here with a brand new show. Until then, I wish you peace.